Folks, good to see you all again. Zaide is back with another episode of DramaQuest. This is Teek Talk 2. This is going over the very, very recent launch of Velious. I'm recording this literally just like 6 hours after we wrapped up all of our day one Velious festivities. We still have more stuff coming up, but you'll get to hear basically how the launch day played out for some of the guilds involved. Before we jump in, I got to give a big shout out to Ryan, Jorge, and Brian, who are all of our newest patrons. Thank you guys. You rock. But with that said, let's jump right in. So, Velious. Velious is a weird expansion for TLP launches when you're looking at hardcore guilds going for firsts and all that stuff. Normally, expansions have like a predefined win con, right? Classic has Aya Vishan, Kunark has Faradar, Luckland has Ottenha Ra, Pop has Quorum, GODS, Tunat, on and on, right? There's always a final boss. Velious is the most ambiguous when it comes to final bosses. Now, there are definitely several different enemies that you could make the case for, right? You could say Avatar of War. You could try to say that, right? Because it was the last mob killed in Era back in the day, right? Even though it's been nerfed down a little bit. You could say Vulak, right? That's traditionally, I think, what has been settled upon as like the big boss, the win con for Velious. And then you could also make the case that the win would be Sleeper's Tomb, right? Because it's the only progression related zone, right? You have to kill something else to get in there. You have to funnel keys, blah, blah, blah. So you could say Sleeper's Tomb. Clear would be the win con. And I think all of those are pretty much fine and legit ways to look at it. But you're going to basically, Velious more than any other expansion gives guilds an opportunity to pick their way to tell their guild that they did a good job, right? You could say, hey, we got AOW. You could say, hey, we got Vulak, we won. You could say, hey, we woke the sleeper, we won. Or we cleared the warders first in a DZ, so we didn't wake the sleeper, that kind of thing. Or you can look at, like what I was personally looking at is the overall. That's what I went into. I was like, okay, I have two goals for Velious launch for Faceless on Teek, and that was one, get server first Vulak, because traditionally that's the win con, and I wanted to have that clean on the belt and done. And then two, I wanted the overall win, which is like the first guild to get everything down. So like you might get, I don't know, you might be like the 10th guild to kill Tunair, but you're the first guild to kill everything in total, right? Like your 10th place Tunair, if it's your last kill, is before anyone else's last kill, that kind of thing. And again, these are just my very stupid opinions. I'm like, this is not important. Only like 5 people on the planet care about this, but I'm one of those 5 people and I care about it a lot. So when we look at all that stuff, that's what I was coming down to. I wanted to get Vulak and I wanted to get the overall. So the overall for this being getting Vulak, KT, AOW, CT, Tunair, and Sleeper's Tomb all cleared first, to have not like each individual one first, right? You know what I mean? But the first guild to have all of them collectively dead. Those were my 2 goals. So we based our strategy around that. Now, in the lead up to this, we knew that it could be a real shit show with launch and lag and everything, but we got our guild we were farming Vaniki achievements for weeks after raids, making sure everyone had their Western Waste clickies and stuff on all their boxes. And then we took our member inputs and stuff, and we had about like 250 to 300 people sign up, and then you know how that goes. A certain number of people, their goldfish dies the day before launch, so they cancel all of a sudden. We had a little bit of that happening, but our plan was basically like, hey, we formed up 4 raids, and it was 2 DPS raids. So we had one raid that was like 36 monks, we had like, I think 40 monks, 20 wizards, and 12 Shadow Knights in one raid. That was our prime DPS raid. That raid, the only purpose that raid existed for was to win DPS races, and specifically to win the Vulak DPS race. So everyone in the raid had IV hoops. They all had their conflag and ice wands and shit. And then we had that raid paired with a second raid. The second raid was just tanks and healers and bards and like all the other classes. And that raid, all the healers had members of the first raid on their Xtar, and every shaman was assigned 2 monks to keep Avatar the whole time. So it was all mapped out. Then we had 2 more raids, right? The other raid was all of our rangers, all of our necromancers, all of our mages, except for 2 that were in the other tank raid. Basically a bunch of like good ranged DPS. And that raid was paired with a tank raid. And their only purpose at launch, was to get to TOV. And as soon as Aryanar died, they were blasting up to Lady Nev. Because so many times you're used to Lady Nev being this long, drawn-out fight. And Vulak, if you guys don't know, Vulak on TLP doesn't spawn until all the lords and ladies are dead. So frequently it turns into a sort of what you would call like a Mexican standoff, where if you engage Lady Nev, you're going to lose Vulak because you're all the way up there and he's going to spawn after she dies. So we get in. The lag is just crazy. Somebody trains off Santalak immediately, so we don't even have to deal with him. We just rush into the zone and we start clearing trash. We get Katyar down, then we engage Ishan, and the lag is so crazy that the mobs don't move. They just like appear in spots, and their health wasn't going down. You couldn't cast spells. Everything was grayed out. I think they're like between us and other guilds, there was like over 400 people in the zone. And we could not damage the mobs, but people were dying. You would just see corpses appearing, right? So we're like, oh shit, like Ishan is about to like kill all these people because we can't do anything. We had a guy at the zone line who realized like he was not getting any lag. He's like, yeah, my spells are fine at the zone line. So we're like, oh, okay. So we just ran. We just split all of our raids up, all of our people, to reduce the lag. So then we killed Ishan, we killed Aryanar. There was another guild in there trying to do some open world stuff. And I was like, hey, after Aryanar, you guys do whatever you're doing. Just don't go the same way that we're going to go. So we go left and we pull Koi Doken because Koi Doken is not rooted. So we pull him. As soon as we have Koi engaged, we send 2 mages to put pets on Miranilla so that she won't call the 0, because all the TOV dragons are pretty much perma-rooted except for Koi, Jorliag, Triplets, and Dagarn. But all the lords and ladies except for Koi are rooted. And they all use Call of the 0, which is at 100%. They could just call you right to them like a summon. So we put 2 mage pets on Lady Miranilla and kept our mages out of line of sight so she would not call the 0 anyone. And then we told our Lady Nev raid, run past us, and now you guys go do Nev and Jorliag. So that's what they did, while we did Koi, Lady M, Lord VM, and then Lord Kryzen. And then we just sat over there and prepped for Vulak. Jorliag and Lady Nev died shortly thereafter. We jumped on Vulak, crushed him. Obviously, like it's not like it's hard. And then we wrapped up anything left for TOV, zoned out, killed open world Sonalak, and a few other minor targets in Western Waste. And then we split up our forces into our DZ forces. Now, while this was happening, the number 2 guild on Teek right now, Kanos Yacht Club, doing big things. They rushed Kale and they got Avatar of War, probably, like I said, one of the other bosses that you could call a win con for Velious. So props to them. Big shout out. From what I heard, I think it was streamed, so I could go back and watch the video. But what I heard was, they rushed there. They had a little standoff situation going with Avatar of War. Eventually, a guild just trained Avatar of War on them, thinking they would wipe, and they grabbed it and tanked it. And then the guild tried to train a bunch of trash on them, and they just high-sunned it with their bards and kept dealing with Avatar of War. So then the other guild decided, okay, now we'll jump in a DPS race, but it was already too late. They had lost too much time. So whichever terrible guild that they were DPS racing, bad plan, bad leadership, and lost AOW because of it. So props to Kanos Yacht Club on their good execution. And then we split up our raid into 5 DZs of Western Waste did 5 Sonalax, 5 Clandicars. This is, Sleeper's Tomb key time, basically. So Sant and Cland each are guaranteed to drop 1 Sleeper's Tomb key. With Mischief Loot rules, they can drop more. I think we got a Sleeper's Tomb key from Ishan and a Katyar. We got one from Vulak too. So we were rolling 3 bonus keys at the gate. Our Sontalak dropped 3 keys, our open world Sontalak. So we immediately had way more keys than we were already planning to. We walked into 5 keys before we started our key farm. We did the 10 kills of Clandy and Sant and DZ. Then every one of those Western Waste splits split into 2's Landcar splits to do 10's Landcars. Then we ported everyone over to Kale, and we did 6 KTs initially, and we had a 7th split that ran up and did 1 Yellonak. It was a real tiny split, went up and smashed Yellonak. Then they came and did KTs, so we had 7 KTs dead, and 1 raid did the whole AOW cycle. So that we had, at that point, TOV cleared, Western Waste and shit, all that ST keys done, Kale cleared, Yellonak dead, and at that point, we split up into 5 splits for CT and Tunair. We had 3 raids starting with Tunair, 2 raids starting with CT, and then when they were done, they just swapped. And we had 36 people go to Sleeper's Tomb. So we went to Open World Sleeper's Tomb. While they were clearing all that, small group goes and hits Dane. And our Sleeper's Tomb group, it just went super smooth and easy, right? On Agnar, we did Sleeper's Tomb with 22 people. It was way harder than going in with 36 people, I'll tell you that. And we went down there and cleared. I think it took us an hour and a half in Sleeper's Tomb to get down there. We killed all the warders. The Sleeper woke up, and I think he woke up, and it was 6 hours and 20 minutes after launch. At that point, we had cleared all of the Velious content. So the overall win went to us at 6 hours and 20 minutes. Now, we have some advantages being Mischief. The big advantage being that you get multiple ST keys. I think we still would have done it in just about the same time, still under 7 hours, because our original route, had us going in with 28 keys. Even if we didn't get any bonus keys, we just happened to get a bunch of bonus keys. So that was super fun. We had one setback, which is that earlier last week, one of the people in our guild did a just for fun playing a fear raid, which immediately becomes a problem because the fear lockout that you have for classic fear is the same one that you use for Velious fear CT. So that means that we had 20 boneheads, about 25 people who were locked out of CT on launch day. It made those CT splits a little bit rougher than they needed to be. And 25 people is not a big deal, especially Faceless has a very healthy, robust roster. But in those 20 people, there was 5 clerics. So that's a pain, especially when you're kind of later in the evening and everyone is tied down. So you can't just be oh, let's bring some cleric boxes. You know what I mean? Because everyone is doing something somewhere. No one is unoccupied. So once we woke the Sleeper, he does his little rampage. If you guys don't know, the Sleeper script is broken on TLPs and I think all retail servers. But he rampages through the zone, kills all the NPCs that are up, and then he despawns at the zone line. Funny enough, he also killed the Vaniki Maguses. We popped a Magus so that we could evac to the zone line in Sleeper's Tomb when he spawned, and he death touched the Magus. So that was cool. But once he hit the zone line, and I think, by the way, Carefirm doesn't see Invis. If you ever get a chance to do this, he despawns, and immediately Sleepers 2.0 spawned in open world. So we had just gotten, 4, 5, 6 mobs in Sleeper's Tomb, and now they're all back up, except it's Ancients instead of Warders. So at this point, all of our Tunair and CT splits are wrapped up, and we're okay, well, let's hand out all remaining keys, or most of the remaining keys anyway, to our highest rated attendance members that are on. And we ended up with 50 people in Sleeper's Tomb for the second clear. And then we called it a night, went to bed. So overall, I would say, obviously we won Velious, right? It was pretty much indisputable. unless you have like some agenda, some propaganda. But like, you get the server first Vulak, you get the server first overall, and you get the server first sleepers. You won Velious. So that was great, is what we were hoping for. We got everything we wanted out of it. We got a bazillion tier 1 targets. We got a bazillion tier 2 targets. And we didn't even burn all of the DZs. Like on Sunday and Monday this week, which are our normal raid days, we're going to be doing a bunch of splits of Temple of Ishan. We're going to get a bunch of Jelinek, like 12 to 18 man kills, and a bunch of Avatar War kills for all the people who weren't in the raids that did those, since we were doing like a bunch of different targets at the same time. So that should all be super easy. And it will bump our tier 1 kill count way, way up there. So what did we do? We did... I think we did 20 total tier 1 kills just that first couple hours of launch. And then we'll probably get another 15 or 20 on Sunday and Monday with our regular DZ raids. And just the way the timers work out, because, guilds normally just raid once a week with these 7-day or 6.5 day, I think, DZ lockout timers. We don't lose anything by saving those extra DZs for our regular raid days. It just makes it more convenient for the members. So we'll still get the same number of total clears in the expansion. So that feels good to have it organized that way. And then, of course, we're doing our GDKP, our plat raids, optional open plat raids, which anyone on the server can come attend if you want. We're doing that today, like the day after the expansion launch. We're doing plat raids, and we're going to knock out a bunch of tier 1 targets. So for sure, we'll end up walking away launch week with a massive haul of loot between the tier 2 and tier 1 targets. And Velious tier 1 and tier 2 both have good loot. Tier 2, you get all the TOV stuff except for Vulak, and you also get all the Sleeper's Tomb 1.0 and 2.0 stuff. So you get Shrouds of Longevity, you get Gnome Mask, Dwarf Mask, Lungy of the Forbidden, all your primals still drop from them, and you get SODs, plus, 1 or 2 other items that people care about from Sleeper's Tomb shit. That's all in there. So we got a bunch of Shrouds and Lungies last night, which people will be happy for. And, we have a billion monks in the guild. So we get a ton of mileage out of that tier 2 stuff still, and probably will all the way right up to the end. So yeah, for us, Velious was just outstanding, super fun. Love to do it. And one of the great things on Mischief and great things on Teek is that Sleeper's Tomb 1.0 loot never stops dropping. It continues to drop even after the Sleeper is awoken. If it wasn't the case, we wouldn't have woken the Sleeper on day 1. But with the fact that 1.0 and 2.0 loot drops forever right from the get-go, and the Sleeper script is totally broken anyway, it's like, whatever. We just went in and blasted the thing. So for us now, it's like just 8 weeks of farming Velious, stacking gear, hoping that the tower on on Teek doesn't ruin too much of the itemization. It looks like we have our belt coming out next week for the tower, and it's not that good. Thank goodness. Dane belts are better because they provide more worn attack. Dane is on tier 3 of Velious, which means you can literally pop a DZ and kill Har Ladar with 6 people or 12 people in Western Wastes. You can do a Woshi in a DZ, and you can get your Dane head that way. So super easy to get that. If you use the tower, you're going to get 4 worn attack on your belt. If you use the Dane head, you're going to get 10 worn attack. So it's a bit better. But the good thing is, like, it's easy to get, and the tower belt is going to drive the price of those Dane heads way, way down anyway. So that'll be good. And I think Dane is the only good thing on tier 3 other than the occasional ST key. So that'll be something that people will do. I don't even think we'll raid Dane officially as a target because he's super low value. And oh yeah, we should talk about the chrono prices again. The chrono prices on Teek are unreal. I've never seen anything like it. Like Mischief, we had it confirmed, admitted, open. Everyone knew about it. Active platinum dupe happening, and the chrono prices weren't as high as they are now. We've got like mid Lucklin, maybe late Lucklin chrono prices on Teek, and it's day 1 of Velious. The servers existed for 3 months, and chrono are 500,000 plat, dude. what the fuck is going on? If there was another plat tube, trust me, I would be the last person to know, right? Because I talked about the last one, and people don't like when you talk about that shit. So I would be the last guy to be in on that secret, right? But something is going on. This is not normal plat behavior. Yeah, there's a million PL teams like we talked about last time. That's dumping plat in. It's not dumping in plat at a significant enough rate to create the chrono inflation that we see here. I'm not saying there's a plat dupe. Who knows? We know that chrono was mysteriously going missing. We never heard anything about why, but on a pretty widespread scale, chrono was going missing. And if you put in a petition, GMs were giving you platinum, the equivalent platinum value of chrono. They were doing that for weeks, probably like 2 months actually. We don't know how often this happened, but when that happens, right, you're doing two things. You're dumping a bunch of plat into the ecosystem, but you're also pulling chrono out. So just pulling the chrono out makes chrono cost more. Dumping more platinum adds fuel to that fire. It could be that this alone, in conjunction with the power leveling and more effective farming, is enough to cause this level of inflation. If there are really that many chrono going missing, which we don't know. We have no data point on how much chrono is going missing. But we do know that recently, in like the last 2 weeks, I want to say, people in my guild who have been losing their chrono, like it's just poofing, when they petition, they're getting chrono back. I've had like 2 or 3 people say like, hey, yeah, they didn't give me platinum. They reimbursed me with chrono. Now, you've got to take everyone at their word. I have not had any of my chrono go missing. So I cannot independently say for sure that, that's happening. But I definitely know chrono's going missing because of how many people have experienced it and talked about it. As far as how the compensation works, I'm not sure. I know for a long time they had a policy that they would not just like give you chrono, right? Which is why they were giving people the equivalent to platinum value on the server of chrono, because they wouldn't just like reproduce it. But I almost wonder if like someone noticed the massive negative impact it was having on the economy and they're like, yeah, maybe we'll just produce some chrono for this. Who knows what's going on? Conspiracy theories are all over, right? Some people are like, oh yeah, the devs are doing this on purpose because they're selling chrono on the side to make income. And I mean, like personally, I don't think that is the case. Usually, like, people just don't risk their real life job for a little bit of extra cheddar. It could happen, I guess, but I really, really do not think that is what is happening personally. I think it's probably the chrono vanishing or a plat dupe or a combination of both of those things. And I think the chrono vanishing, I don't think it's stolen credit cards. I don't think it's some nefarious thing. I think it is some kind of underlying technical issue that is the result of the unprecedented server population of Teek. It's the same. I think it's like very similar to what we're seeing with the parcel bug, where like when you parcel things, shit just goes missing. It poofs into the ether. Like I can send you a divine healing potion and it might go to you and someone else will get it too. Or you might not get it at all and no one will get it. It'll just disappear. Or someone will get it and you won't get it. And instead you'll get a different item that was sent at the same time that I sent the divine healing potion. Like there's so many ways it can happen. And it's so opaque and it's like poorly understood by the player base. The devs might know more about the mechanics behind it, but they really have no reason to tell us or elaborate on it, because if they explain how it works to us, it probably just opens up duplicating possibilities to the player base. So it's probably best for them that people don't really understand the mechanics behind that bug. But yeah, I mean, it's the Wild West out here when it comes to that stuff. Like I'm telling people, when you have valuable stuff, like I recommend you trade it personally rather than parcel it at this point. Now the GMs are really good. They always give it back because they know it's a bug, but it's still a big issue and it's a pain in the dick when you parcel it. You parcel someone an item and they wait like 2 days and then they're like, hey, I never got that item you sent. You're like, oh, I sent it. And then you got to get your logs, petition, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I think, just me as like this dude on a keyboard who doesn't know anything about anything, I would guess that there is some connection between that bug and the vanishing chrono. Both of them, I think, are related to like a server load in some way and just having so much shit happening constantly at the same time. But yeah, these chrono prices are absolutely bonkers. On the other hand, item prices are abysmal. Like item prices are as low as they've ever been. As a matter of perspective, like Shields of the Immaculate going for like 1-2 chrono, Crown of Ryle going for like 2 chrono, Grace Wade boots going for like 2 chrono. Like the tip top tier 1 Kunark shit, the best items that you get from Classic and Kunark going for like 1-2 chrono, or sometimes not even reaching chrono before the expansion is over, is crazy. It's lower prices than what we had on Mischief by a wide margin. So that's good to see. That's good for players because content is more available, right? Part of that is going to be tower gear having an impact, but part of it is just folks being more effective at farming and people being more understanding of the value of items, right? Spending a bunch of chrono on an item is about the dumbest thing that you can do in EverQuest, because on TLP, a best in slot item usually, with rare exceptions, a best in slot item has like a 3-month lifespan. So if you buy a 15 chrono Yellonak talisman right now, you're just wasting 15 chrono. I saw people were trying to sell ST keys on day 1 for 15 chrono a pop. And then I think by the end of the night, I saw people selling ST keys for 4 chrono a pop. When it's so funny. When we were in Sleeper's Tomb, I had 3 different box crews reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you want to buy any Sleeper's Tomb keys?" And I didn't want to tell them, like, "Sorry, I've got 40 people in here already. It's, we got it sewn up. You don't want to jinx yourself." But I was just like, "Nah, man, I think we're good. I don't think we need to buy any." I've never bought any ST keys, and I'm glad for that. So I know normally, like on these servers, guilds just buy a bunch of ST keys to get into ST super fast, or you do like 20s landed car splits and buy some on top of that. But yeah, just, if you're out there and you're looking at this Velious gear week 1, here's my advice to you. Don't be an idiot. Don't buy any of this shit. So much loot drops, you will get all your gear. So much loot drops, you'll be fine. And if you don't buy it, the price goes down. It's the only thing that happens. None of this loot is worth 20 chrono, 15 chrono, 10 chrono. Wait. Get everything for 5 chrono or less. Even if you've got hundreds or thousands of chrono, like, what? Don't waste it. It's stupid. All this loot, 2 months, right? 8 weeks. And most people have blown their first week of DZs already. So there's functionally 7 active weeks for most of the player base of Velious content to go. This gear is going to be gone in 7 weeks. Then it's going to be Lucklin, and all this shit is going to suck. Don't spend a bunch of chrono on this. Listen to me. And then when Lucklin comes out, 8 weeks is what you got of that too. Same thing. Don't spend a bunch of chrono. And then when Pop comes out, don't buy anything, because you're going to be stuck in Pop for 4 months. Everyone will be best in slot in every slot on every character if you don't just quit, because 4 months is an eternity with our loot pools. So yeah, have fun in Velious. The server is great. The chrono price is insane and will never recover probably. Tower gear is here, but its relevance is waning. If you're someone who wears gear that AC matters on, like you're a tank or an enchanter, then you have a full suit of upgrades available to you in Velious. Other people have like half the upgrades still, but either way, Teek is still awesome, still a killer server. Almost as good as Mischief was, I think, but Mischief had that brand new factor where everything was unknown. But yeah, this is just an amazing time. Great server. If you're not playing on Teek, you should start playing on Teek as soon as you can before time's up. Even with all the good catch-up mechanics and the huge population, it's undeniable that with every new expansion, it'll get a little bit harder to join, right? It's always harder to join servers later, but we're still well within that period where it's easy to jump in, get groups, level up, have fun, and you could still catch Teek in the beginning of its run. It's not too late. It's the perfect server for people to be casual on. You don't have to know life. You don't have to go super hard. Even Faceless, we just raid 2 nights a week, and we do bat phones and stuff like that throughout the week and crush open world content. So do that. Play on Teek. You'll regret it. You will regret it if you don't play on Teek. Don't bitch out over tower gear because it's minor and stupid. It's not a big deal. Okay? Come play on Teek. It's the best server out right now. Super good. While we're here, what else is going on? A new expansion came out on Mischief. I don't even know what it's called anymore. Was it Reign of Fear or the one after Reign of Fear? I don't know. We won. Faceless won. And oh yeah, that was our 50th. That was our 50th server first expansion win. So this Velious was our 51st. But as an organization, Faceless, broadly speaking, on TLP and live servers only, that was our 50th time winning an expansion race, getting the final boss down. You know what I mean? So that's great. And that's between Lockjaw, Agnar, Cello, Burtox, Mischief, and Teek. So those 6 servers, we have now put up 51 server first expansion wins. And then we have, Quorum off to the side doing its own little thing. So it's always a good thing to be in Faceless. The sun never sets on us. And yeah, that's it, man. This has been good. I'm gonna be on vacation for about 10 days here, folks. A real vacation. I'm not going to the Bahamas or anything. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna be on a Disney cruise, taking my daughter out on a Disney cruise for her birthday coming up. So it'll be at least 10 days before we get another episode. Probably like 2 weeks. Don't worry. We have to catch up on a lot of stuff. I plan to do lore episodes for Teek as we walk through. So I'll probably do like a classic through Velious lore session coming up. And then I still need to get back on the epic train. I know I'm right about to start the Necro epic lore. All that good stuff coming. And I'm sure there will be plenty of more Teek drama to talk about in Teek Talk episode 3. So this was great. Love recording the podcast. Love talking to you guys in game. Love playing with Faceless in the guild and love working with the other guilds on Teek. I hope everyone had a great Velious launch. I hope everyone's crushing it out there. Have a good one. And this is Zaide and DramaQuest out.